Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to my Reading Rush reading vlog. I have filmed and uploaded a TBR, so I will link that so that you don't get spoiled, but if you're watching this reading vlog, I'm going to talk about the books I'm going to be reading, so obviously I'm going to discuss that next. So if you don't want to see what I'm reading and you want to check out my TBR video, I'll link it in the cards above so you can go and look at that really quickly, and then of course please come back. So these are the books that I want to read for this readathon. I have already started Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder and I'm about 25 pages into this. I have barely started this one. I started it on my lunch break today at work. This is a young adult fantasy and it is for my prompt of read a book with purple on the cover. So I know it's not an entirely purple cover, but there is a little bit of purple on it. So I'm counting it for this challenge. It's been on my TBR for many years and I just need to get it read, to be honest. I really like the tone of the writing so far and I'm pretty much hooked, even though it's only been about 20-25 pages, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. I feel like it's going to be at least a 4 stars if not a 5, which is why I picked it for this readathon in the first place, because historically I've picked books for my TBR for readathons that I have just either DNF'd or given 3 stars, or it's just not been that fun, so I'm looking forward to reading this one and hopefully giving it a good rating. Then for one of the challenges, it is read a movie adaptation and then watch that adaptation, and I've chosen The Hunger Games for this one, so I'm hoping to read 2 novels fairly back to back and then read the graphic novels later on in the week, but because I'm working full-time hours at the moment, I'm going to cram in as much reading as I can and hopefully I finish what I really want to read. But if I can't really get through this one, I'm not going to prioritise it because this one is my only reread on this TBR, so I want to read the other books that are actually taking up my TBR and get them off that number. So I want to get that number down. I've talked about this in other videos before, but for any new subscribers, I was at about 200 books at the start of last year, and as of today I'm about 86 books. So I've really cut down that number and I'm aiming for 0, but maybe I'll even get under 50 this year, but my reading has been a bit slower. So I'm hoping that this readathon and the Newt's readathon in August will really reduce that number for me, but we'll see how we go. And then lastly, I have a bunch of comics. I have these comics and I'm kind of doing a bit of a mix and match depending on what I feel like picking up. So I wanted to read Descender Volume 1 Tin Stars. I believe it's Tin Stars. Yes, I got that wrong in my TBR video as well, so the title is clearly stuck with me. But I want to read this one for the prompt of read a book with more than 5 words, so obviously this is a bit wordy when it comes to a title, and I did struggle with that prompt, but I did buy this in Sydney when I went recently, and I'm looking forward to getting it off my TBR even though it's recently come on my TBR, if that makes any sense. I don't want it to linger for ages like all of my other books have, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I am aiming to update this vlog every night, so I want to daily vlog but then post it as like a weekly vlog, if that makes any sense. But I want to check in with my progress regularly, which will keep me accountable because I really want to finish Poison Study. It's Tuesday night and it's almost 10 o'clock and I'm so tired, but I promised that I would update every day, so I'm going to, and I'm going to stick to that. I've just finished my yoga class for tonight and I've worked all day, so I'm sitting down to read when I'm not on my lunch break at work because I can't really read very much during my lunch break. For a reading update, I have got 168 pages through Poison Study and this is about 400 pages long, so I'm tracking fairly well on this. I'm pretty pleased. If I only really finish this during the readathon, I'm going to be pretty happy, to be honest, because I think this is the fastest that I've read a physical book lately. Also, sorry if you can hear the heater in the background, but it's winter, it's freezing. The heater is of course going to be on so I can get all cozy and read. I also saw that there are going to be daily challenges for the reading rush, so I'm going to try and get onto them and try and do them. The first one was to draw a character from a book, and then the second one was related to truths and lies, so you've got to basically tell 2 truths and a lie and then people guess in the comment section which one is a lie or not. Because I'm not doing a daily vlog, I don't think that will work as well, but I might just do my truths and then my lie in this vlog and I won't tell you what the answer is, and then if you want to answer in the comments or try and guess, then please feel free to. So I'll just list them 1, 2 and 3 and then you can guess. So this is the challenge for day 2. Number 1 is I delivered a banana to Nigella Lawson. Number 2 is I met Chris Hemsworth at a convention and he high-fived me for being Australian. And number 3 is David Hasselhoff drove past me on a golf buggy. So let me know which one is the lie. And then for the day 1 challenge, so I've kind of done them in reverse, but For the day 1 challenge, I need to tilt my camera and change the viewfinder, so that's why I'm doing it second, so that I could talk to you and then do the challenge because it needs me to draw. And the instructions were to pick a book off your bookshelf that you'd already read. So these books here for the readathon, and then Dark Age, which I'd already started before the readathon, I obviously haven't read. The ones on this bookshelf here next to my bed are my TBR pile. So I went over to my bookshelf over there and I picked up Aurora Rising, which I finished very recently, and I really enjoyed this. This was very fun. Gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Would encourage you to read it. But obviously I am going to draw Aurora, and I figured this was a fairly good choice because she is on the cover. And it'll be interesting because I want to try and recreate the cover in 30 seconds, which is the length of time you're allowed to draw for. So I'll just tilt my camera, I'll put my timer on, and I'll see how I go. And then finally for today's update, I was actually listening to the audiobook for Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I don't think I brought that up on Monday, but I had already started it before the readathon had actually started, and I didn't include it on my TBR for that reason. It was kind of an extra, so I wanted to read physically, and I've also usually got an audiobook going while I do that. But I finished it, I really liked it. It's a contemporary book if you don't know. It's based on a band in the 1970s. They're obviously a fictional band. It's a young adult contemporary book, and it kind of recounts their story about Daisy Jones and the band called the Six, and how they interrelate and how addiction really plays into that, as well as love. And it was actually really compelling and I really liked it. I gave it about a 4 out of 5 stars. I only finished it today, so reflecting on it I might change my mind. I kind of doubt it because it was a 4-star book. I want to say it was a lot of fun, but fun is not the right word. It was very compelling and I really enjoyed it a lot, and all of the characters in the book, even though there were a bunch of them, because obviously it's following the Six and Daisy Jones and then people who are around them as well, so it was multiple perspective, and the voice narrators were great because there were so many voice actors in this audiobook, so it was really easy to distinguish who was who, and it was told in a similar way to Evelyn Hugo, which is in an interview format, which I really liked. So I really liked that one. I really liked Evelyn Hugo, although I think I liked Evelyn Hugo more. I had more of an emotional reaction to Evelyn Hugo than I did to Daisy Jones, but I still had a reaction to both. So I really enjoyed that one, even though it wasn't related to my Reading Rush TBR at all. And I also have another audiobook to start tomorrow because when I commute to work I listen to an audiobook. So that will be Circe by Madeline Miller. I've actually got it here. Circe by Madeline Miller. This is a retelling, it's an adult book, and it's a fantasy about Circe the witch from Greek mythology. So I'm looking forward to listening to this one, and then also The Song of Achilles, because both of these are on my priority list to read this year. So I'm hoping that I like them both. And I think that's all I have to say for now. I'm pretty tired, but I'm going to try and read a little bit of Poison Study before I fall asleep. So I'm hoping to get to about 200 pages of that. So I'll read about 30 to 40 pages tonight. Hello, it's Wednesday and it's about 6:45 at night and I'm still reading Poison Study. I thought I'd be close to finishing it by now, but I'm running a little bit behind on my own personal schedule. I mean, the readathon's still going, so I want to say that I'm going to finish this before the weekend, but that's going to be fairly ambitious. I have about 200 pages left of this one, so I'm just over halfway. I'm actually really liking this. I feel like it's going to be about a 4 to 4.5 stars for me, depending on what the ending does. Maybe even 5 stars, but I feel like it sits comfortably at a 4.5. Yelena is a really interesting protagonist, and I like that this is very much old young adult fantasy before we got used to all the tropes and everything. I can kind of see where the character archetypes in this story are potentially going to go whenever she meets a new character, but I have been pleasantly surprised with little conversations and such that have gone on in this so far, and I'm really liking it a lot. It hasn't delved into the magic system very much in much detail, but it has touched on it, so I'm liking that it's not something that's laid down for the reader at the very beginning. We find out as Yelena finds out, and I also like about this that it isn't rooted in only politics. It's very much Yelena's experience of everything and Yelena's experience of meeting everybody else in the story, and then it's her responses to that and how she thinks. I'm really liking this, and I haven't actually started any of my other Reading Rush books. I don't really think I'm going to start The Hunger Games anyway, even though I wanted to. I did say that that wasn't a priority for me because it's not a book on my TBR that I have unread. That would definitely be a reread for me, and then I plan on reading my 3 graphic novels, or at least 2 of them, this weekend, or maybe on my lunch break at work, but it depends on my mood. Also, there was a day 3 challenge that the Reading Rush posted by Regan at Prue's Project, and that was a bookish food challenge, and I'm not a baker, I definitely won't have time, I'm working full time at the moment. The challenge basically was to eat or drink something that is based on the book that you're reading, and given that I'm reading Poison Study, I'm not sure that's really a wise choice. I did comment on that announcement video for the challenge though, and someone replied saying that I should just eat bread and honey, which is basically what every character in a fantasy book reads, so I thought that was pretty clever, and then bread and cheese as well is pretty clever too, so maybe I'll do that, but I probably won't do it on camera. So did I do this challenge? Did I not do this challenge? Nobody knows. Hello, it's Thursday evening and it's almost 7 o'clock at night, and I'm coming to you with another Poison Study update. I just looked at the page count and now I've forgotten it. I am at about 270 pages into Poison Study, so I am now over halfway and I'm very proud of myself. I'm also listening to the audiobook of Circe by Madeline Miller, and I want to say I'm close to or just over halfway of that as well. And there's a plot device in it that has just happened that I'm not really a fan of in any of my books. It's when a female character is sexually abused or raped or something of that kind to develop her as a character, and I don't really agree with that kind of character development. I don't know Circe's actual myth, so it's probably part of the myth, and Madeline Miller is just incorporating it into her story, and it doesn't go into too much detail. It's kind of just implied certain things are heading in that direction, but I paused in the middle of it because I arrived home from work. So it might not end up going the direction I'm thinking it's going in, but it's definitely set it up for that, so I really hope it doesn't. I'm enjoying Circe anyway. I'm gonna give it about a 3.5 stars, maybe a 4. It's enjoyable, but it's not like a favourite of mine or anything, but the cover is absolutely stunning, so that's why I put it on my priority list for this year. Also, the challenge for day 4 of the Reading Rush has been announced by Stories for Coffee. So Liv talked about this on the Reading Rush channel, and she told us to explore our reading nook, or not explore, but show off our reading nook. There were a few things or questions that she wanted asked, but I didn't have time to watch the full video because I was watching it on my break at work. But I don't really have a reading nook. I kind of just make my way to a bed, sit in it and read. Or I'm reading while I'm commuting, so I'm fairly boring. I don't really have many key things that stick out to me. I don't really eat or drink while I'm reading. I usually eat and drink, play on my phone, and then I start reading because I don't like having to juggle everything in my hands, and I like getting really cozy and snug in the spot that I'm in. So the exception to that is probably when it's summer and I'm drinking something cold, but apart from that, I don't really eat and drink while I read. Hello again, it is Friday night and I'm coming to you at about 7 o'clock in the evening. I actually sadly haven't read any more of Poison Study. I have been taking it to work and then chatting to people on my lunch break, so I haven't actually read any more pages. And then last night I got a bit distracted because I was starting the edit of this vlog other than reading. So unfortunately, like I said, haven't continued Poison Study, but I did pick what graphic novel I'm going to be picking up next. So I had the choice of 3. I've got Descender, I've got Steel Prince, and I also have Paper Girls Volume 2, and I asked Dave downstairs to pick a number, 1 or 2, and he chose 2, so I'm going to be reading Paper Girls Volume 2, but only after I have finished Descender, if you can follow what I mean. So I want to read 2 graphic novels, and I was a bit unsure about which ones to pick, but Dave helped me narrow my choice down, so I'm going to be starting this one. If I finish Poison Study, I'm not sure. I want to finish Poison Study, but I also want to change it up a little bit because I feel like I'm stagnating and I don't want that to happen. So we're going to put the fireplace on downstairs. We are going to curl up and eat our dinner, and I think I might start this one if we don't end up getting caught up in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because we're watching season 6 at the moment and loving it. So I usually would update and talk about the challenge from today, but I haven't actually checked the YouTube channel because I was really busy. So I might have to just do that challenge tomorrow. Otherwise, that's really it for my update for now. I haven't read anything else, so that was a very productive update. So it's 3 o'clock on Saturday now, and I actually have a reading update to talk about, which is a big surprise. I finished Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder, and this is the main book that I wanted to finish for this readathon, so anything that I read extra after this weekend, I'm going to be pretty chuffed with. I gave this book about a 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the characters in it. It was a little bit tropey, and I found there was a particular declaration in it that I was like, oh really? But it's not like it was a bad declaration, and I understood how it suited the character. It just felt a little bit fast for me, but I've got to remember this was written many years ago. I'm not the main audience for young adult anymore. And overall, I can't really critique this book anyway. It was a lot of fun. It was written well, it was paced well, the world was really interesting, and I really liked Yelena as the main character. So I can't wait to see this series grow. I do plan on continuing it, even though I don't think I have the rest of these books, but this is the book that I read for the prompt of read a book with purple on the cover. So I'm glad to say that I finished that on my Reading Rush TBR, and I get the badge now on their website, which I don't think I've discussed earlier than this, but the Reading Rush have actually made a website and you can sign up. Obviously I signed up before the readathon started, and every time you complete a challenge you get to earn a badge on the website. So that's what I mean when I say that finishing a book gets me a badge. It's just a little icon on the website, but it's fun to collect them all. And then because I finished Poison Study, I started one of my comics. So I started Descender Volume 1, 10 stars, and this is so beautiful. It's so interesting. It's kind of about how Earth and cyborgs interact with each other, and there's been a big cataclysmic change, and we're in the fallout of this change. So that change is kind of the premise of the story, but I don't really want to spoil what it is. But we follow this little boy who is a robot, and his name is Tim21. I am not too far into this, so I can't really give more of a detailed synopsis than that, but the art style is absolutely gorgeous. It's very watercolor-esque and I love it so much. And I'm about 20 pages into this because I joined in on a read-in with Little Book Owl and Books with Chloe, two Aussie booktubers. They did a live read-in on Instagram, so I can get that badge on the website as well, which I'm really happy about because I didn't think I'd be able to get one of those because I'm currently working full-time this week, so I didn't think I'd be able to get to one, but I'm really glad that they hosted one online so a bunch of us could join in. So that is where I read the 20 pages of this, but I think it's actually 40 pages because these are obviously, in a comic book it's a double spread and the pages are double-sided, so potentially it's 40 pages. It's 160 pages long and I'm close to halfway, so maybe, but I'm not sure. Either way, I read a bit of this last night. I want to finish this one as well this weekend, so fingers crossed because we've got a few things on in the next night and tomorrow, so I hope I can squeeze this into the end of the readathon, because if I do, that would be great. And then one last thing that I have to talk about, because I didn't do the challenge yesterday like I said, and I think that was make bookish art, and I don't have time to do a makeup look or anything. I don't really have time to bake or cook anything, but a while ago, I'll insert a picture here, I took a photo of my black milk leggings with my Circe book, and I really love Black Milk. It's a brand that I'm obsessed with. I have many types of leggings and pants from them. You might have seen them on my Instagram stories if anything else, but I took a photo with Circe and I feel like that's appropriate to mention because I'm currently listening to the audiobook for that. And I think that's it for my update today. I'm planning to do a bunch of editing for this vlog so I can get it up on the Monday after this readathon, but I hope I'm not going to be too busy. I hope I can get it up in time, but it will be the week after the readathon regardless. And then I think I'm going out and seeing some friends, and then tomorrow I potentially have plans, but I'm not quite sure. So hopefully I can squeeze in finishing Descender and then also potentially finishing Paper Girls because I really want to read that one as well. Hello, it's Sunday afternoon, it's the last day of the reading rush, and I am pleased to update you because I have finished a few things since we spoke last. So obviously for this readathon I finished Poison Study, which is a 4 out of 5 star read for me. And then since I last talked to you, I actually finished Descender Volume 1, 10 stars, and I gave this about a 4 stars as well out of 5. And then I'm really pleased to say that I finished 2 graphic novels in addition to this. So I finished Paper Girls Volume 2 and I gave this a 4.75 out of 5 stars. And then I finished The Darker Shade of Magic Steel Prince Volume 1 graphic novel. That is a lot to say, and I gave this a 3.5 stars out of 5. I also realised that I missed out on doing the challenges for day 6, and then day 7's challenge isn't up at the time I'm filming this, so I might have to actually miss it out for this readathon, unfortunately. But if I do manage to film it in time, I will insert it here. Hello, this is Editing Beck and I'm doing the day 7 challenge because it got posted in time, thankfully. Day 7's challenge is Book Rec Heaven. So you've got to recommend a book that you were recommended in a memorable way. And I have kind of 2 stories for this, and they're both pretty short stories. So the first one is that my best friend has recommended 2 of my all-time favourite books, The Name of the Wind and The Art of Racing in the Rain, and I will continue to recommend those books until the day I die. And then the other book that I got recommended, it was actually kind of a series recommendation all at the same time. So a guy I used to work with, he came over to talk to me, and he was kind of an old fellow. He was part of the IT department and I didn't really know he was interested that much in reading, but he ended up gifting me the Cuckoo's Calling trilogy that was out at the time. It turned out that he went to secondhand bookstores a lot and he just bought any copies that he saw of this series so that he could gift them all as a 3-pack to anybody that he thought might be interested in them. And I was one of the lucky recipients of his gift pack. So I'm yet to read those, but I really want to get into them. They're a crime adult series, so not usually what I would read and not usually in my wheelhouse, but if I'm going to try and branch out, then that's the spot that I'm going to try and branch out into. So it was just a lovely gift to receive, and I definitely trust my friends' recommendations as well. So those are my 2 stories. Now back to past Beck, who is talking to you right now. But I did do day 6 and I wanted to report what I found, because day 6's challenge was to spell your name with book spines, and this bookshelf is fairly small compared to my shelf, so instead of doing my full name Rebecca, I did my name Beck. So when I did it, I did time myself and I took about less than a minute, maybe 50-60 seconds to do this challenge, and I think you get about 2 minutes to do it, so I feel like I'd need a little bit more time if I was at my own bookshelf, which has a lot more books than this one. But for B, I chose The Black Prism by Brent Weeks for B. And then for E, I chose Eon by Alison Goodman. And then I really struggled with C. I couldn't find anything on this shelf, but The Night Circus did have a C in the title at some point, so I'm going to count this one. I'm convinced that this one counts. So unfortunately I didn't end up finishing The Hunger Games for this readathon, but I didn't think that I would anyway, so I'm not too disappointed about that one. I will eventually put it on a list of books that I've got to reread because I really want to reread them to enjoy them again. I do have a lot of my favourites on that list, and The Hunger Games definitely falls into that category as well, so I haven't forgotten about this one. This is a very nostalgic story for me and I love it a lot, so I definitely will be revisiting it, even though I didn't do that for this readathon. And then I realised that I actually missed a book out of this readathon completely. I had 9 from the Nine Worlds by Rick Riordan, and that was a novella set in the Magnus Chase series, and I completely just left it at my house and I didn't bring it with me this weekend, so I didn't read it at all for this readathon. So I was thinking I might pick it up between now and when the Newts readathon starts, so that way at least I finish it before my Newts. But if that doesn't end up happening, I'll probably squeeze it into my Newts readathon somehow, because I'm really disappointed that I forgot that one. Rick Riordan is one of my favourite authors, so I really want to get on board with reading one of his books, and I think that if I'd read that during the reading rush, it probably would have fulfilled the read a 5-star book challenge. So I did myself a little bit of a disservice, but I'm just so disappointed that I forgot about it. As for all of the reading rush challenges, I finished the Read a Book with a Purple Cover challenge. I also finished the Read a Book that you've had on your shelf for ages challenge, and I finished a book with the title that was more than 5 letters long. I did only read 4 things for the readathon, but that is 4 more than I have read in a long time. I've not really been reading during the weeks or after work, so committing to vlogging every day has really made me accountable, and I'm really glad that I finished all of these. There was a Read 7 Books challenge that was part of the readathon, but I feel like if I read the Rick Riordan book, that would count 1 more book in this stack, but I also did finish Daisy Jones and the Six on audiobook, so I kind of half want to count that one because technically I'd already started it before the readathon, and I am reading Circe on audiobook as well, so I feel like I could have potentially pushed myself to get to 7 books, but I'm just glad I pushed myself enough to get to 4 books. So hopefully this sets up the standard for when I start my Newts readathon, because that is a month-long readathon rather than a week-long readathon. It requires a lot more reading stamina, and I really need to push myself to read thicker books for that readathon because I've got more than 1 novel on my TBR that I haven't read. So that is all I've got to say for my reading rush vlog. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you participated as well and how many books you read, and I will talk to you in the comments. Thank you. Bye.